when they were using a different type, and I think that was part of the reason why we struggled. But also maybe I think we had a lot of important meetings. I think some of our voices getting a little bit drained. Maybe that had something to do with it. But it's just one of them things. I mean, always you got to.
There must be a big strain on both men and machinery.
Well, that's right. Having qualified for all three cup final and having won the British League with so many important meetings towards the end of the year.
Sad that the stadium situation, and you haven't had Speedway. So it was a little social media thing, and I have to thank Rob for taking the bull by the horns, if you like, and arranging today. So maybe just give him a round of applause. Going back to me in the Cowley Road, maybe I was more into sort of music and putting on shows, and I was a Speedway promoter, but I think you have a present practice day, and I remember my first one at King's Lynn was quite good. We had Anglia and BBC, and everybody was running around, a bit beyond the fact that it was this amazing Australian team, and we did it. The Brundles were involved and different people, and I realised that there is more to just getting 7 riders and putting the kit on and going around and for a few cameras. So the TV are interested, radio are interested, so why not give them a media or a tool to take it forward, and so sponsorship can be involved. And it was just a way of saying to the press and the media, hey, we're here. It's maybe a slightly different way of doing things. The riders actually thought, oh, this is good. All of a sudden, this is a slightly different way of presenting things. And plus it got us free tickets into the nightclub on many different evenings, which is another matter. So, there's lots of little stories about this dry ice that was going around Oxford at the time and doing this circular, but I think it started us off on the right footing, and I still believe that team that year, and we did make the playoffs, if it had been a 2-leg playoffs and we lost to Paul very narrowly, I'm always convinced we would have won the return, and maybe we'd have been in the final and things would be different, but that's history. But I don't know what Mark's going to ask me next, but I would just say to you, it's great to see you all, and I hope you have the remainders for yours a good night.
Well, I was going to remind you that we once went to the Park End nightclub, and it was in true Nigel Wagstaff fashion. He came up to the bouncers and said, no, I don't pay to get into this sort of thing. I'm the promoter of Oxford Speedway. I couldn't believe it, and these great big chaps went, oh, okay, we'll go and check all that, and came back and they let you in.
I think you make up this.
Well, we've got to make it interesting for them. So, when you watch the GPs on BT now and you see this man, Nicky Pedersen, think of that, and you brought Nicky Pedersen, we're talking about 2003?
Brought Nicky to... He was riding for Wolverhampton, and I took him to King's Lynn in 2001. I tried to get... Well, actually, Jakob arranged it all, so I met him in Copenhagen Airport, and then I flew off to Poland to try and do a deal with Pepe Protasevich. I got Nicky. But I remember Crumpy saying to me in 2000, if this track at King's Lynn is slick, Nicky will destroy us. Because he was racking up 16, 17 points. He could really ride. He came and did a good job for me. There was all things in the press, as I'm sure you remember, the Daily Sport, and we did all that, which was a bit naughty, but it got us publicity. And then it's well documented that, me and Nicky fell out, and I just found this rider who was not very good, but he took his place, called Greg Hancock, so the rest is history, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll come on to Greg in a minute, because one of the last tales we'll tell you now is that we, at the BBC, we decided to cover the Grand Prix in Cardiff in 2003, and that was an amazing day, wasn't it? Because I mean, I got on quite well with Nicky, but you had to do what he wanted. And I said, well, I want to interview you, literally a few minutes before you race. And he wasn't prepared really to give anybody interviews, as you know. And so he said to me, okay, this is the rule, you arrive at my motorhome at X time. And that's how it's going to be. I said, okay, fair enough. And went in there. He said, right, you sit there. I eat my pasta. I taught you I eat my pasta before I race, I said, that's fair enough. You just tell us what's going through your head. And of course, we got very lucky, Nigel, myself, and Radio Oxford, because the race went the right way, and we went on to win a major award, and then we went on to win another award, and then start Planet Speedway, which was a big thing. But we had a good time, and we were a bit controversial, weren't we, at that meeting in Cardiff?
Oh, and that one, yeah. Leon. Leon, he was going to be here tonight, but he had an operation a couple of weeks ago, and he's had a few complications, so unfortunately he can't be here. But myself and Leon did the commentary on Radio Oxford, and they were putting themselves forward for award, and I think me and Leon did a couple of bottles of red wine when we were doing the programme, so that wasn't very professional of us, was it? But lo and behold, we got a gold award for it. So the moral of the story is, if you're going to do anything live on radio or TV, get hammered. That's it, wasn't it? So it was, it was an emotional day, emotive. You were running around in the pitch doing whatever, weren't you? We were sending you backwards and forwards. Can you go get another interview, Mark?
Well, I mean, one of the worst things I got asked to do, which was one of the hardest things, was to get an interview with Ollie Olsen, because we had this poll of listeners as to who they thought was the greatest ever, rider. And of course I needed to get that on time, and he's quite a difficult man actually and there was all these other journalists ahead of me, and I basically said, sorry, I can't, I've got to get in here, just shoved him out of the way, and presented Ollie with this award, and it was incredible. He just started crying.
Ollie also started crying?
Yeah, started crying, because he said, well, they voted. I said, yeah, they voted you, and he just went to pieces, And it was just, as as the race director, just about to start the Grand Prix. So as you said, you had the easiest job. You were doing all the commentating. I'm rushing around all over the place.
Yeah, they were good days, weren't they? But having said that about Ollie, I think, when you look at all the top riders in the world, he's up there with them. And talking about crying, I remember seeing this DVD video, whatever, his farewell meeting, and I remember he was standing on the rostrum talking to the crowd, and he said about Charles Ockadry, there's tears of joy, because it was raining. On that presentation it was raining. He said there's tears of joy, and he was a lovely man, and I got to know both his sons through Speedway, and they both helped me, like I said, with Nicky. And his other son ran the FIM, didn't he, the Grand Prix. Great family, but and as a kid I was a massive Coventry fan. I know I then became a massive Oxford fan when Simon came here, but the days of Nigel Bucock, who was probably my first hero in Speedway, little boy blue. So I used to go along on a Saturday night there, but Ollie was something special, yeah.
So what we're going to do is we'll get back to watching a bit more Speedway. We're going to talk to some more riders. We're going to hear some more stories from Nigel. Obviously, we need to talk about Greg Hancock. I've got a few funny tales to tell you there. And more importantly, hear a little bit more about what Nigel thinks about the possibility that anyone ever might come back to Oxford to restage Speedway. And of course, with the news of what's happened with the karting and the fitness and everything else, it's looking even bleaker than ever, but we'll get his views on that. Thanks, Nigel. You want to say something?
No, just one thing. I think Rob's arranging obviously a raffle. There will be a few things auctioned, but I've got loads of stuff like caps, because I'm very conscious of the fact that I've got there's stuff there that it's part of you guys really, with what about the British final in my last year, although I had it in 2004 as well, and there's lots of t-shirts and different things that I want you guys to have. So in terms of shirts and caps, if you just want to come up and take what you want, then put a donation in the tin, which will go to the charities that we spoke about. And there's pictures and stuff there. I'm happy with all that, if you want to do that. So at some point when Rob's got his little plan into place, then we can do that. Okay.
Thanks, Nigel. We'll be back soon. Yeah. We're going to start off with one of the great stars. I used to go to Speedway in 1974, and we got one of the stars from that. That's when I started going to Oxford Speedway. One of the great riders of that time, beyond doubt, Gordon Kelly. Now, I was looking at some interesting photographs, because I think you joined in 72, didn't you, Gordon?
Yeah, that's true, yeah. That's just before we went to White City.
Yeah, and I saw this picture of you with Malcolm Ballard and Julian Wigg, an incredible young photo of you.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Well, let's take you back to those times, because, you know, riding in that side was people like Bob Kilby, and we used to go. It was a difficult season, 74. What's your greatest memories, first of all, of that season?
I lost to Bob Kilby. He was such a good rider, good team man, and it was a big loss to Speedway. So, yeah, that's massive. And Doug Lovis, really a good friend of mine. I'll keep in touch now.
Do you know he popped back and saw us all recently?
Yeah, I would like to come and see him. He was meant to see me. He was on tour in his camper van, but he didn't get down to the south, so I didn't see him.
That was great. He came and walked the track, and he came out with some really interesting tales about being a little lad in Norway, practicing in his backyard, and then eventually making it, going up to Scotland, and then being pushed off his bike by some really rough rider, and losing all his equipment, thinking, I don't know about this English Speedway, it's mad. And then, of course, he didn't really want to come to Oxford, but once he got here, he's mad on it, isn't he?
Yeah, he was good round Oxford. I think he preferred Oxford to White City. His style suited Oxford very well. Yeah, he was a good rider, Dave. He's a gentleman, actually.
Yeah, he still is, actually. Lovely man. Now, I'm going to move the years on a bit. I did follow you at White City. That's another story. We won't get into that. Let's think about Wembley, because I went to the 75 final and, of course, the 78 final. Tell these people what you did in 78 at Wembley.
Yeah, coming second in the world. It's one of the best nights in Speedway. I'd like to have won it, but second's better.
I seem to remember a certain Ollie Olsen won it.
Yes, my ex-wife was Danish then, so, and I met her in Oxford, Princess Risborough actually. She used to work she was an au pair in the pub. That's where it all started.
And for people here who don't realise it, and many of you, of course, went there, but some people won't. I mean, it was unbelievable, Wembley, then, because you had literally 98,000 people there, the nighttime capacity, and it was just, well, it was incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the crowds were very big in those days, in the 70s and 80s. It's a shame to see Speedway going down so much, but I think those were the best of days.
You must have been so nervous, though.
You don't think about it, not at the time anyway. I still don't get nervous now. I'll still ride a bike occasionally.
Well, there's a couple outside waiting for you.
Yeah, I'm waiting to go around the cricket field. Just before it gets dark.
But when you think you got to the very top of the sport, but you just missed out on being world champion, is that something that still bothers you, or have you thought, well, number 2, that's pretty good in itself?
Yeah, it does. Well, I loved being number 2, but it'd been nice to win it. But that's Speedway.
What do you remember about that day?
I remember the race with Ivan Major when he said I knocked him off, but eventually I found out I didn't knock him off. His bike was packing up, so he put it in his book that it wasn't my fault, his bike was playing up. So that's the main thing I remember.
Now, we're all missing Oxford Speedway. Nobody really knows if it can come back. The stadium's still in reasonable nick, but it's a stalemate there. What do you think the chances are of Oxford returning?
Trouble with Speedway, a lot of tracks disappeared now. Even, Oxford's one of the best ones, and there's so many tracks disappeared, especially from London, everywhere. But I'd love to get it back to Oxford, because it's one of my favourite tracks. Good size and nice stadium.
Where do you go for Speedway now, then, Gordon?
I go to Arlington, Eastbourne. My brother's son races, Eddie. He's racing there this year. They've got quite a good team, so I should be taking my grandson over every Sunday or whenever it's on.
Do you go to these Grand Prix or do you just watch them on BT?
I do watch GPs a lot. I'm going to Cardiff this year with my daughter's boyfriend. So
Have you been there before?
I went there a few years ago when Eddie was reserve. That's the last time I went. It's a great day. Good day out.
How would you like to ride in a final like that? Because obviously Wembley was amazing, but it's sort of outdoor. But then you've got this sort of indoor thing at Cardiff. I mean, what do you make of that?
But the atmosphere, it's so noisy. And it's really good, I think. They really hype it up. Yeah, it's a nice day out. It's worth going anyway.
Oh, thanks, Gordon. Let's hear it for Gordon Kennett, one of the best riders. Let's get cracking on because we don't want to lose these riders. They're all keen to go. I'm going to start with somebody that I know quite well. He doesn't know me, but I used to follow him in '74. Welcome back.
It's great to be back. Yeah.
Shall I tell them you're Trevor Gear, or they know that, don't they? If we go back, that was a tough season, that '74. What do you remember of it?
Like 74, 75, they're great years for me, and 73. And some great memories at Oxford.
Oh, it slipped up there. Good job we weren't recording this one for Radio Oxford. Rewind, you weren't Ethan, you're at Oxford, and they're the Rebels, okay?
I was doubling up, the 74 I was doubling up, and that 75 I came to Oxford full time, and fantastic years at Oxford.
And you went to White City.
And then White City, but I think, where we went on and won the league there, but I think if we'd stayed at Oxford, with the team we had, we'd have won it, at Oxford as well.
I'm glad I wasn't commentating then, because it always struck me strange that we had a Trevor Greer and a Richard Greer. I mean, that's tricky, isn't it?
A lot of people got us mixed up anyway.
So, what do you feel coming back? Are you sad that the tracks, nothing's happening there at all?
It is sad. Like on the way down here just now, I had to call in and have a quick look, and it just still looks exactly the same, and it's a shame Speedway wasn't in a better position, because I'm sure someone will be in there running it now, but it's just not viable really.
No, and you're probably surprised that it was in such good condition.
Well, I didn't go in.
You did go in?
I didn't go inside, no, but it looked good from the outside. That's why it looked exactly the same. Bit of a tip with the pits and that, as they always were. But
you could have done what Mr. Lovas did. He came recently and he walked the track. Had a look at the weeds.
I'd like to have done that with him, yeah.
Right, let's go to the 80s. Colin, tell me about life. I went there, but do you know what? The 80s to me, it's just all a blur.
Well, it was for a lot of people, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I come from where Trevor was Eastbourne earlier, but there's a good side with Gordon Kennett, Trevor Gear and the lights, and I needed to move on and find a team I could hold a position in, and luckily John Payne and...
See, I was going to say John Payne was running it all then.
Yeah, and Bernard, and I think they had a little bet on, let's have a go at him, sign him up, see if he can get a 6-point average after the first year, and I think I got close to it, and apparently they had a wager on it, so...
They didn't play any tricks on you then?
He was always playing tricks, mate. He was a lovely guy. He was a lovely guy, and he's very much missed.
Yeah, very sad. Let's talk to Derek Harrison. Now, they see, I recognise him, so he looks roughly like he used to, yeah? He hasn't changed too much. Still got those sideburns, right? You were described as like the hero of the terraces in '81. Why do you think that was?
I never gave up really. I need to earn money, so I had to go for the points, and points make prizes in them days. And it was such a fantastic track to race on. You went there. If you didn't make the gate, you could pick up the points anyway. And I loved to ride on Oxford.
You're talking about picking up the cash for the points, but then you went to Mildenhall for a meeting, a 4-team tournament. You had a very bad crash.
I think went through the fence and cut my ankle up, and I thought it'd be alright, and then I tried to ride on the Thursday, and that was it. The deep cut didn't heal. I went to the doctor and said it's too late to stitch it up, you got to have rest, and I got away with it.
Well, you ended up with a 9.51 average that year.
It's not bad, is it?
It's very good. Good considering you tried to get back on a bike, having had and you scored 4 full maximums.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about Oxford is the supporters and the team. Everybody was around you. If you needed something in the pits, somebody had it. If you needed a pint after the meeting, there was always a supporter to buy one for you. And we had a great time. We could talk to the supporters, the other riders. Nobody didn't get on. Everybody responded as a team.
Are you sad to see the track now?
We went there today, and it breaks my heart to see a track there that's everything's there and not being around.
Yeah, it's sad. We haven't got Dave Perks here, he's gone off somewhere. Can you just come in a little bit closer because the mic won't stretch? But we have got Mick Fletcher. Tell me your best memory.
Best memory. Well, just I think reflecting a little bit of what Derek said, really. You know, that we weren't superstars back in that sort of like 1980 to 82 sort of area, but everybody worked together. We had a good, you know, team ethic, and the supporters were fantastic. I mean, there's some people here tonight that I've met, you know, and I can remember them going, and it was rather poignant back then. You know, you turn up at sort of like Glasgow or Edinburgh or somewhere like that, and you hear over the, you know, you're getting your bikes ready sort of thing, and they say, "Hello, Mick, how you doing?" And then you turn around and somebody you see on a Thursday night, and it trekked all the way up there, and it was fantastic to see these people, you know, sort of follow you around, you know, and it was a good era, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember that, obviously you do, that the league was quite big. And so you had these tours, didn't you? And I remember the supporters that he was talking about Edinburgh and Glasgow. You know, the supporters coach used to set off in the crack of dawn or something, and those people would go all the way up there, and you know, off maybe you'd lose, and then they got that wonderful journey back.
That's right. Yeah, very much so. You know, you were when you went off into, you know, sort of various positions after, you know, places sort of like the next day to get your bikes ready. These people, you know, that come up on the coaches and all the rest of the following year, they were there with you as well. And you had it was just nice, really nice sort of like time to be together, you know.
And where is that Dave Perks now?
Where is Dave Perks?
Yes, somebody told me he was here, but I think he's gone.
Yeah, unfortunately he had to go home. He got a bit of a problem at home, so he had to shoot away.
Never mind. Well, I'll go back to Trevor here. I was going through my stuff and I found a wonderful picture of Oxford Speedway in '74. You know, they used to have these colour pictures in Speedway style. Have you got that one?
I've got quite a few pictures and that. I don't know which one that is, but
it's a sort of classic Rebels, you know, 1974, and it's a nice bit of colour in that.
I treasure all my old pictures of the Rebels and that. Like, we had a fantastic team and that with Dag and Richard, John Dews, bless him, and that was a really good friend. And such great times. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the weird thing was, although I carried on with Oxford, I did also follow you down to White City, and that used to just baffle me because I was a student in London then, and used to walk around White City trying to find a turnstile that was open.
Yeah, that was a big stadium and that. Great track to ride and that, but it's a shame the supporters are so far away from the action, really, unlike Oxford.
Well, you see, it's because the people in those days, they liked Hackney and Wimbledon, and the White City they weren't so keen on.
They weren't in them days and that, but at least we went out there and beat most of them anyway. So.
Yeah, it's amazing, yeah, because I followed them down, I think it was at Exeter that you took the title, and it was really the old Oxford side, wasn't it?
It was. I think it's Wolverhampton we took the title, really.
Right, yeah. Did you lose at Exeter? I think it was a key win at Exeter first, wasn't it?
It might have been. We won quite a few places that year, including Bellevue. We're the only teams to beat them for some time. And I know the meeting at Wolverhampton, we had something like 13 coaches up there, and fantastic.
Yeah, because if you think back, it was so sad then. It was the same sort of situation as we got now. You know, SOS, Save Our Stadium, and people marched, they did everything, and they did save the stadium, only for us to end up in this mess.
It is such a shame, and there's so many stadiums have gone that way, and it'd be great to see Speedway back like it used to be, and that, but there's got to be some drastic changes for that to happen.
That's great. Well, let's hear it for Trevor Gear and the class of '81.